think I'm gonna do a little garden tour today. I love watching these videos on YouTube. I first started watching garden tour videos by Roots and Refuge, and they're just like the best videos because I love seeing what other people are growing, and then I'm like, oh, I want to grow that. There's just so many different varieties of different fruits and vegetables, so I always like watching those videos. So I figured that I would do a garden tour. I planted most of my stuff beginning of April, so we are now, it's like, what is it? It's July 7th today. And so this is the progress so far. This is our first year on this property and this farm, our first year in this garden. This was just a field of grass. So we added these beds, we added the greenhouse. That tower garden I had, that's a green stalk tower garden. If you're wondering what kind, that's the best tower garden. I have a few more raised beds over there, and then in the back by the tractor we have a few in-ground rows, which we're going to be adding to this fall. But right now we just have 5 in-ground rows. So we'll start in the beds and then we'll go to the rows. So this is the first section, I guess you could call, of the garden. This is where the greenhouse is, and then we have 4 raised beds here. We have a cattle panel trellis, and then we're going to be adding another trellis over there. That's where our cucumbers are. So my husband is working on that right now. But this is the first bed. In this bed I have peppers, green and yellow. I have eggplant, a couple of those, I think 4. The eggplants are already starting to produce. So I've picked quite a few eggplants. There's one in there too. Lots of flowers on the eggplant. So the eggplants have been doing really good so far. And the peppers, I've gotten a few peppers off of these plants too. I think there might be one, yeah. There's one there. I think I picked, yeah, there was one on this plant and one on that one that I already picked and I used actually in dinner yesterday. And then I just threw a couple dwarf sunflowers in here. The leaves are curling, and I think it's probably just from a lot of sun and not enough water, because we're just getting out of a drought. The things in the garden, they're just wanting a little bit more rain, and obviously I water them, but if you garden, you know that there's nothing better than rainwater for your garden. These are yard-long pole beans. Oh, I forgot to say, the variety of the eggplant is just like the typical, like, what's it called? I forgot the variety of the eggplant, but it's just like the most common eggplant you can find at the grocery store. And then the bell peppers, I think I had said, they're just green and yellow bell peppers. They're going to trellis up here. They're starting to get their flowers. This is the second bed. This also has the same yard-long pole beans as the other side. And yeah, there's a flower right there. So those are going to start getting beans on them soon, and those are going to grow up this trellis right here. And this is going to be the asparagus bed, besides obviously the pole beans. These are 2nd year asparagus from M.I. Gardner. So if you're looking for asparagus, you can get them from him. I'm not sure who else does asparagus. I'm sure you can find others online, but that's just where I got mine. I was trying to find a shoot that might have just came up here. I could show you. So I can show you kind of just the different stages of asparagus. So this is the first stage of asparagus, and this is like what you would mostly see, I don't know why it's not focusing, in the grocery store. There you go. That's what you would see in the grocery store, and that's what you would pick to eat. Then it starts to kind of look like this, and it starts to get little shoots off the side, and then eventually it'll start to look something like this, with just lots of little shoots. And then it turns into this. It's just like, it looks like almost dill. But that's what asparagus looks like when it's fully mature. So since this is second year asparagus, we're not going to pick it because we want it to get really good and established in our bed. But it's just cool to see it. So across from these two beds, we have these two. This bed is practically identical to the first bed that I showed you. It's just this bed has some jalapenos planted, and these are producing. I pruned my pepper plants so that they'd grow bushy instead of tall, just because I live in a very windy area. So that's just what I wanted to do, but you don't have to do that. Here's some more peppers. And then in both of my beds, I do have marigolds planted on the outside just for pests. And it seems to be working pretty well. I haven't had any issues so far yet this year. The only thing I've had is some Japanese beetles on my zinnias. And then the side right here, I have some, I think these are Armenian yard-long cucumbers. I got them from Baker Creek Seeds. And then, actually, these might be the yard-longs, the Armenia, I think. And then the other side is the Ashley cucumber, I think. I won't know until they get bigger. I forgot which side I planted which on, but there's going to be a cattle panel right here to match that one. And then this bed is all zinnias, everything in this bed. They're starting to come up. I have so many different varieties. I got them mostly, I want to say, from Baker Creek, and possibly a few from M.I. Gardner. You can see just the damage that the Japanese beetles had done. But these flowers are just starting to bloom. And then over here in this little row right here, I have some dwarf sunspot, I think is the variety, dwarf sunflowers. So I can't wait to see what those look like. But that is pretty much my flower bed on this side. And I want to actually sell cut flowers. Over here I have these two big trellis things. These are actually rose bushes. And there's actually a few on here, which is really cool. I didn't know if they were going to produce this year. Tower garden. The tower garden has a lot of strawberries in it. I had this bird net on here because the birds were actually making nests inside these little cups, or whatever you want to call them, in the green stalk. But these strawberries have lots of blooms on them. These are also from M.I. Gardner. And I've gotten a couple strawberries off them so far this year. I do have quite a bit of empty space on my green stalk because I had planted some stuff and it died because of the birds, like I said. But yeah, what are you gonna do? This is some parsley, thyme. There's some mint, some mojito mint. I have some, this is like dwarf Greek basil. And then I also have, this is some opal basil. You can see it's purple, which is really cool. I've never grown that before. I'm gonna take you over to this side of the garden. Did I say garden? This is the one side. That's the gate to get in. And this is the other side. So this also has zinnias. Just some more different varieties. And these are calendulas right here. There's some that are starting to just open. And then I forgot what these are. They're like, I forgot the name. I'll have to look. This bed is all tomatoes. There's some cherry tomatoes. There's some Roma tomatoes. This is, I think, an Ace 55 tomato, which I have to prune. And these are all Romas. You can kind of tell the difference between these and that one. That one's huge, so I have to prune that. And again, in this bed, I just have marigolds planted around. And I do have some flowers in here as well, just kind of coming up. And I think these are asters. There's some flowers in the middle of this bed. This one I have petunias on the outside of, and then I have tons of snap peas. Oh, you can see the beetle. Can you see it? Yeah. Those, we're just gonna flick that right off. On this side of the bed is all snap peas that I just planted a bit later so I could have a later harvest. And then this side has some that are a little bit older. You can see these are kind of growing up. I had an issue with this bed. There was just something constantly eating at it. So these two were the only ones that went untouched, but the other ones were eaten down. You could see them, they're real small. So they're just kind of behind. So I really only have 2 snappy plants that are really producing. This is our compost area. You have 3 different sections for that, which is in the garden. That's another door that you can get in the garden. And this whole area that's grass, you can see over there, these are all going to be in-ground rows. Where I'm standing is going to be in-ground rows. It's going to go from the beginning of this fence all the way to the front of the garden. So this is all going to be in-ground rows. But here's our 5 that we did this year. Our first row, I have teddy bear sunflowers, quite a few. And then I have some chocolate cherry sunflowers, which they're getting heads on them, if you could see that. Yep. Let's see, I think there's a better one, yeah. You can see this one. There's a couple heads on this one. And these 2 massive sunflowers, if it'll focus. These I was actually given by my brother's friend. So he wasn't sure of the variety, but I just planted them and they're absolutely huge compared to my other ones. So we'll have to see what variety those are when they come up. I'm assuming they're going to be like a mammoth sunflower or something like that. Just, I mean, look at the size of this leaf compared to the size of my other leaves. There's a pretty big difference. And then the rest of this row is just some more Roma tomatoes. These are just a bit younger than the other ones. And then this row next is, I have a random tomato plant that my dad gave me. So that's up front here. They're called the, oh shoot, what is the name of this tomato? It's like Riesentraube or something with an R. Something Rosentraube tomato. So I have 2 of those. I have one in the first row too that I'll show you. And these are spaghetti squash and some acorn squash and some pumpkins. So I planted some stuff over here. Nothing came up except this little guy. I don't know what happened with that. There's a little one there. So now we're on the 3rd row. This whole row is pumpkins. I have some Jack B. Little pumpkins And I also have some sugar pie, I think they're called. They're the ones that you use to cook with. So I have, that was real little. But yeah, this whole row is just the Jack B. Little pumpkins up to here. And then the rest of the row is watermelon. This row, this is our fourth row. And this row is all zucchini. So the first part of this is black beauty zucchini. And then the second half is lemon drop zucchini, I want to say. They're like really small. They look like lemons, but they are zucchini. Like a yellow squash. This is the last row. So this is the front of the garden. This is our fence. But yeah, this is the very, very first row. This one has some green beans. And then I also have one more of those Riesentraube tomatoes. These are sun sugar cherry tomatoes. Oh, there is a few in here. There's a couple down in there too. I don't know if you can see those. So those have a little bit producing. And then the rest of the row is tomatoes. I have 2 different kinds of fingerling potatoes. Yeah, this whole thing. We're gonna have a lot of potatoes. So that is that. That's the in-ground rows. You can kind of see an overview of the garden. And that's just what we did so far this year. Hopefully you guys liked my garden tour. It is pretty hot out here, so I think I'm done for now. Thankfully there wasn't too much to show. I did just have one more thing to show you, and that is that we do have some fruit trees outlining the back end of our garden. So I can show you those really quick. We have some, I don't know if you can even see that. This is a Honeycrisp, I think. Yeah, this is a semi-dwarf Honeycrisp. This is a semi-dwarf Gala apple tree. This is a Methley plum. This one's looking much better. We actually had a deer come in and eat every single leaf off of that tree. So it's doing much better. This one, it's a Hanska plum. This one looks pretty good. Just a couple eaten off this one, but it's doing fine. This is a peach, a Harvester is the variety. Harvester peach tree. I think this is a peach too. We did like 2 and 2. This is June Gold peach. And then last but not least, this thing is holding on for absolute dear life. At first it was like half dying because we were going through a drought, and then we had some Japanese beetles come in and just completely eat these leaves. You can see them. They're just looking a little rough, but this is our Rainer cherry tree. We're hoping that it could pull through. We did end up spraying some neem oil on it, and they haven't touched it since. So as long as those leaves can grow back, hopefully our tree can make it. These are all first year trees, so there is not going to be any fruit on them this year, They'll probably produce fruit in about 3 to 5 years, depending on how much sun they get and just how healthy they are. So that's just our fruit trees that we have put in this year. So that's it. That is the garden tour. I'll do a couple of these garden tours, maybe like one a month or something like that. I don't know. You let me know how often you want to see a garden tour. But that's it. I will see you guys in my next video. One more thing. I did want to say, if you guys are, if you are not into YouTube as much, if you're into TikTok, you can follow us on TikTok, or if you are into Instagram, you can follow us on Instagram. I believe we are _Sleepy Hollow Farm on TikTok and Instagram, but I will link them, or I will list them down in the comments.